Do you guys see how? Oh my God, YouTube, please do not ban me. Do you guys see how how cucked Hutch's way of approaching politics is? Like, are you guys seeing the same thing I am? Do you remember when Hutch was arguing that it was okay, like you need to appeal to right-wingers or something like that? And you have to be amicable and meet them where they are at? This is what happens when you meet people where they're at, okay? This is what happens. You become a cuck, all right? Meeting people where they're at makes you a cuck, a cuck, a cuck, all right? We can't have this energy. This energy is unsustainable for the survival of the United States of America. We can't have this cucked energy.
That the Democratic Party and the leaders within the Democratic Party and the Biden back when he was president, they need to do more to like help shape the narrative and like push the electorate in a particular direction. How do you make sense of like, and I want you to answer this question.
I've not been listening to Hutch too much. We are 1 hour and 20 minutes in and there's no screaming. I want screaming. I want slap, okay? There is no such thing as a debate from my side where there's an hour and 20 minutes of build-up and there's no screaming at the end of it, okay? If you are not screaming at the end of 30 minutes maximum, okay, you are appeasing. You are appeasing and you look bad, okay? You need to go beyond. Stop. There has to be a cap. There has to be a time cap for being amicable and polite for a debate. There needs to be a time cap. Every argument, every debate can be resolved in 20 minutes max. If both people are good faith and nobody is bad faith, okay? 20 minutes, okay? 20 fucking minutes, all right? It shouldn't take 1 hour and 20 minutes to get nowhere. Okay, sorry, my bad.
Without deflecting to any external forces. So like, I want it to be a purely...
You guys want to look at good examples? Look at any one of my unstructured debates, okay? Not excluding the Kafka one, because that one is a structured debate where, you know, you have to follow a specific format, okay? Look at any one of my unstructured debates, call-in debates with anybody. Look at my anti-fan debates. Look at all of them, okay? I am not going spurg mode from the beginning. None of it is going spurg mode, rude mode, ad hominem mode from the very beginning. All of them has been polite and amicable for the first 20 minutes, okay? But if we cannot get anywhere after 20 minutes, yes, I'm going to unleash cum upon your face, okay?
Internal critique. Why are progressives not like sweeping in way more elections? Like, why have progressives not won enough seats to be in like the leadership position in the Democratic Party? Like, why do you think they've been stagnant for like 7 or 8 years now? Like without talking about AIPAC or lobbyists or the establishment.
I know you think that the cope is that everybody just blames the donors and whatever, and they're not willing to engage in like critical reflection because yes, progressive candidates struggle with black voters. They struggle with older voters. But for one, let's put this in the context. Every single candidate, moderate, progressive, or whatever, you can find different demographics that they struggle with. So that's not unique to progressives that they struggle with these particular factions. But overall, they do struggle electorally, right? And the reason why is that they need to invest in more ground game. They like television ads aren't enough. Like they need to invest in more robust door knocking operations, like Mamdani did in New York City, to get people literally, physically on their feet, mobilized, both trying to get other people out and getting people to the polls, which is why he was able to see success. He was able to flip some Trump voters. He was able to bring people that hadn't ever voted or hadn't voted in years into the fold. And I think that strategy alone, I'm not talking about his policies. I'm not talking about his messaging. I'm saying him getting more people physically mobilized and involved, that's what progressives are lacking. As far as other times where like they don't do enough outreach to Black voters, when you were seeing a drop in support even from Biden, like the New York Times ran this article back in I think 2023 or 2024 that over 1,000 Black pastors had signed a letter saying that they were not in support of Joe Biden's actions in Gaza. They were becoming increasingly critical. He was losing support with them. Kamala Harris was losing ground with Black men. That's why you had Obama go out there and try to do specific outreach on her behalf as a surrogate for to get more Black men voting for her. And he straight up just said, I think you guys are kind of sexist. Like he was willing to do that sort of outreach to like try to get votes. I don't know that that's the best strategy, but that's what he did. Progressives need to do those sorts of things to micro target those communities as well to get them on board. At times, like you look at these races where they've lost and they struggled with those, it's because they literally just didn't do enough outreach. So they need to invest in outreach and messaging, literature, canvassing to those specific groups, and try to court endorsements as well from community leaders.
Do you see even the seeds of that happening? I mean, I feel like this goes beyond politicians because I feel like the entire alternative media space has just been so conditioned at this point to externalize all losses to, you know, AIPAC and the donors and all that. There's just never that kind of reflection that you ever see in terms of like mainstream
that's everyone.
pundits.
That's Kamala Harris as well. You think that book 100
I don't think that's true, no. I don't think that's true at all.
I haven't read the book, but the excerpts that I've seen from that 107 days thing, it's her being like, you know, these governors like didn't answer my phone calls. I didn't get enough help here. I was struggling here. It was Kamala Harris dedicating a lot of time to talking about
well, have you read the book? I haven't read the book yet.
No, I just said I've only read excerpts from it.
Okay,
but maybe somewhere in there's some critical self-reflection of here's what I didn't do enough, and I really.
She's not debating good faith. She's not debating good faith. This should be your red flag. This should be your red flag. This should be a red flag. This should be a red flag. Why is this not your red flag? She's quoting a book that she has not fully read, and she's only seeing excerpts on Twitter or some shit. Stop. Stop engaging with this bitch. Stop. Some hoes are just hoes. You cannot lead the retarded hoe to the pointer. You cannot lead the retarded hoe to the pointer, okay? Even if you show the retarded hoe to the point, she will not get the point. You have to put it in front of her the face. You have to call her fucking bad faith. Okay, all right, whatever.
I hope it's not just like, maybe I was too magnanimous, like kind of like a non-serious like internal criticism that like she truly says like I made a mistake or whatever. But I'm just saying that like every single person copes with this. Like in the last debate that we had, you said that you thought there wasn't just Russian interference in 2016, that you thought it was the difference between Hillary Clinton losing and Trump winning. How does that not cope on your end?
Wait, what did I say?
There's no evidence that like you said that the Russian interference in 2016 favored Trump to the point that it changed the outcome of the election for Trump to win, and Hillary
100%.
Might have.
Like we're talking about.
Okay, how's that not cope on your end?
We're talking about.
There's no evidence for that.
WikiLeaks? You don't think the WikiLeaks? The WikiLeaks
I'm not saying there's no evidence of Russian interference. I'm saying you don't have the evidence for the claim that it changed the results to that extent.
No, I absolutely do. You can see what happened to her polling when the WikiLeaks started. That's when we're talking about the like Russian interference. I'm including the WikiLeaks stuff that was hacked by Russians and then given to WikiLeaks. We saw her numbers plummet once that steady drip of 2,000 emails.
But the WikiLeaks didn't make Hillary Clinton be unpopular. At that point, she had a lot of other issues as a candidate. It wasn't sorry. It wasn't the only thing. Like, do you think it was like WikiLeaks and Julian Assange didn't make Hillary Clinton vote for like the crime bill or whatever? Like have unpopular votes 10, 20 years earlier. Anybody
can pull up the RCP like aggregate of what her numbers were doing during that 2016 year, and you saw her numbers go down, starting with these like. It started with the DNC leaks and then the WikiLeaks of the Podesta
Comey
emails.
Deciding to do that, I think, is like a bigger thing. That's a domestic thing.
Yeah, I mean, when an election is that close, you can blame a lot of like singular things. But here's what you didn't...
External factors. You're saying it's not Hillary Clinton, it's Russia, it's someone else. That's what you're doing.
Okay, hold on. But when Kamala lost in November, I don't know what your media diet looked like, but everywhere I looked for like 4 to 6 months was deep conversations about the myriad ways that people felt that Biden fucked up and Kamala fucked up and Democrats fucked up. I mean, we talked about it on Live and Learn for like 2 months straight. Like, what would we have done differently if we were in Kamala's shoes? People talked about ignoring the alternative media. People talked about, ignoring Rogan. People talked about literally like a dozen different things. You did not see like the liberal establishment blaming like the donors or whatever it was. Obviously
she lost in spite of the fact that she had a bunch of money.
No, but
Kamala Harris had like a record amount of people donate to her, and she still wasn't able to win.
That was a poor way to make the point because it didn't apply to her in that way. But you understand what I'm saying,
so
right?
like people literally can't make that criticism in her example.
Right,
like she had money, it wasn't that.
But you did see plenty of commentary. Like Sam Harris came out 3 days later. He blamed woke stuff, and people, she was getting it from every angle, and liberals were having this conversation without blaming. Like you couldn't really blame the left on that election because it was a more convincing election than the previous two in terms of like 2016 and 2020. I mean, it was a pretty pretty resounding victory. It wasn't like a landslide, but you couldn't really blame one thing or another on Donald Trump's win. But you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, you saw liberals breaking down Kamala's weaknesses as a candidate, certainly Joe Biden's weaknesses as a candidate. Like, nobody shied away from having those conversations.
Yeah, but every time you bring up the fact that her refusal to distance herself from like an increasingly unpopular administration, what ends up happening, it's never just, yep, you're right, she should have done more to distance herself. It's an immediate, you have to understand the position that she was in. It's very difficult. She had no choice but to run the campaign the way that she did.
Stop. The reason why Kamala Harris did not want to disavow Biden's campaign is because that would have been seen as a backstab. That would have been seen as a betrayal. If Kamala Harris ran her campaign with 500 different points, and it just happened to be an entirely different agenda, what the fuck do you think that looks like? What the fuck do you think that looks like? That looks like a backstabbing. That looks like a political opportunism used for the wrong reasons, okay? You know nothing about how to run a fucking election. You are a moron, inbred vegetable, okay? You are the great betrayer. You are arguing in bad faith, and you are an anti-fan of the Democratic Party, and we should cast you to the river. You are pathetic. You are the scum of this earth. You're the absolute most pathetic thing to ever crawl in this world, and honestly, fuck Hutch too, for not pushing back against you hard enough. We are 1 hour and 30 minutes in. Hutch is not a stranger to bad faith lefties. I expect him to know better because he's a smart person. The only reason why I'm slamming him is because I expected better from him, okay? This pathetic display of a debate has gotten me egregiously and abundantly aggravated, okay?
So they're very hesitant. Yeah, I see liberals hesitant to grant this all the time.
Ooh.
They'll say, Hutch, I've seen you and other people on Live and Learn say this.
No.
That,
wait, what?
well, you want to say right now
Nobody on
that
Live and
she
Learn
should have
said
done
this.
more
we all talked about,
distance herself from them.
No, we all talked about the fact that Joe Biden calling her and saying no daylight was insanely narcissistic, egotistical, and selfish, and that he fucked her, and that she would have benefited from distancing herself.
How should she have done that?
She should have differentiated herself by just simply saying what she would have done differently on this or that issue. But she just refused to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I swear I've heard you in the past say, like, again, they grant it, but then there's all this, you have to understand it's very difficult, that she's in a rough spot, that I've heard Pisco say this or whatever, like a whole debate with Prime, that why she's in a difficult position, being literally part of the current sitting administration, why she can't differentiate herself too much because you're in this kind of catch-22 position if you shit on your record too much, then it sounds unconvincing to voters, why they should vote for you if you're saying they have a terrible agenda. And then I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying that there are liberals that are unwilling to even grant that she should have done that. They look at that and they were like, she did the best that she could. That was something she maybe shouldn't have made that one comment, but in general, she can't throw it under the bus too much.
I don't know if I saw a single liberal say that she, shouldn't have differentiated herself more. That's to me one of the most consistent flaws that people point to make the case that she could have done better. I don't know. That's just me. But anyways,
I see that, and I also see I see that you said Sam Harris blaming the did he say that she was too woke, or did he say that woke people were the reason why she lost?
He was saying the Democratic Party just broadly was too woke. I mean, he was blaming literally the trans issue, which was just insane.
It's not tethered to reality. She didn't even mention that, right? And then she didn't even win. I won't say that she turned her back on them entirely, but she stopped mentioning it, and then that didn't even get her an electoral advantage because she didn't win.
But anyways. I don't see that kind of internal critique. I mean, you tell me, in terms of big left-wing voices on alternative media, how many times have you ever heard any of them talk about Bernie Sanders struggling with black voters?
That specifically, I mean, I'm sure there was an interview that Ezra Klein sat down with a guy who runs Data for Progress back in 2020, and they had an extended conversation about Bernie's loss. And it was data driven, and he has some recommendations. Hold on, let me see if I can't find it. Is Sean something? Let me see if I don't know.
I mean, the name. Big kind of progressive voices on social media, Kyle Kalinske and, Jank. I don't know if we can call him.
Nathan J. Robinson.
Wait, was he talking about Bernie's struggle with black voters?
Nathan J. Robinson.
The current affairs guy?
Bernie.
I don't know who that guy's.
Yeah. Analysis. Why Bernie didn't.
How is Hutch still calm? This shouldn't be. Oh, Oh my God, he shouldn't be calm. You need to stop being calm. You look so bad. You look like a passive bottom. You're a bottom. You're a bottom. Okay? You have no sexual drive anymore. You have erectile dysfunction in this debate. Okay? Stop doing this. Stop doing this. Okay? It's not good. It's not good that you're able to stay calm. It's a bad thing. Yes, it is a bad thing. It's a bad thing.
Win 5 years ago from Current Affairs. It's a 45-minute video of him doing what is probably an autopsy on the Sanders campaign. I would be shocked if at any point he doesn't bring up black voters in this.
Well, I'd have to take a look at it.
I don't even know why optics people. Why do optics cucks even call themselves optics cucks? Like what is even the fucking point? There's no point. By the way, I just want to say this looks the worst optically. Okay, if you're so concerned about optics, this looks the worst optically. Okay, period. Okay, it looks the worst optically. Okay, it looks the worst optically. Okay, I'm sorry. You cannot be every optics Andy. Okay, every optics Andy does not know what optics means. Okay, if you keep on appealing too far to the right or you're appealing too far to the left, you look horrible. Yes, I'm the real optics Andy. I'm the only optics Andy that has ever existed, to be honest.
But I mean, like, would you even dispute the point that that's not really the narrative that we
Okay,
heard.
can you concede that point to me that you were saying that you're like, give me a single example of this happening? I mean, someone big, because I gave you an example and you said,
then you wonder why he doesn't respond to your DMs. That's right. I never wanted his attention anyway, okay? I can live without Hutch's attention, right? I can't, okay? But it doesn't matter, all right? Fuck this guy, okay? He keeps on ignoring me.
That guy's not big enough. And so I said, fine, how about Nathan J. Robinson? I'm giving you an example of why Bernie didn't win.
Wait, do you even dispute my claim, though? I mean, like,
can you concede that there's an example of self-reflection happening? I'm sure I can find an example.
But you haven't even watched this video. You don't even know what he says.
No, I think I have watched this video, but it's been years. If I put like, what is it? Like outreach to African Americans, 31 minutes and 5 seconds. He talks about it.
Okay, sure.
Okay?
I don't know if I ever said that literally zero. Talk about sort of internal critiques. But when people like Nina Turner lose and Jamal Bowman and Katie Porter and Cori Bush, like that's typically not what you hear. Typically what you hear is, well, AIPAC, was the reason why they lost, or it was the Democratic establishment with their boot on the neck. And I'm saying
people licking their wounds, being upset, but I know I see that, but that's not unique. And I'm just saying that, like, I'm not trying to feed into the narrative that nobody on the left engages in self-criticism or self-reflection, even if what you're interfacing with is a lot of complaining or whatever.
But do you dispute what I'm saying though? Like that's more often than not the knee-jerk kind of explanation for why these losses occur?
It is, but everyone does that. Yeah.
I don't think that kind of thing
you have on the
happens to that
Republicans.
level.
They literally don't even acknowledge that their candidate lost in 2020. That's one end of the spectrum. And then with liberals, you had Rachel Maddow every single day, Russia as the reason. In this conversation, you've said Russia was a big reason. She probably would have won. That's an external factor. And then you have leftists saying, it's AIPAC and donors and stuff like that. I'm saying I can give you examples of every single major political faction in this country to varying degrees of outright election denialism to coping over just donors. So yes, but everyone does it.
So you do dispute? No. I'm saying that.
Take that back. This isn't food. Listen to me, okay? Hutch is gay. He is gay. He is homosexual. He is of the most homosexual nature I have ever divulged from this man, okay? He is gay. He is homosexual, all right? Gay and homosexual, okay? This argument is of the most homosexual queer nature I have ever seen, okay? It is homosexual.
The way that progressives do it, it is like a reflexive kind of knee-jerk reaction literally every time, and you rarely see like analysis, like real analysis and internal critique after big progressive losses.
I'm not co-signing. I just gave you an example.
You gave me Nathan Robinson, which, okay, fair, that's something, but
he's not nobody. He runs one of the largest left publications, and you said literally every single, you just said literally every single left or progressive commentator defaults to this.
Yes, basically.
So is it literally?
Not
if it's the claim is literally,
but almost every single one of them. So like when Bernie lost in 2020, what did you hear? Did you hear about his shortfalls with black voters when it came to like the overwhelming consensus online?
The conversation centers around, again, people being upset about that, but you said that they don't want to engage in any criticism ever.
Rarely. They very rarely do, and they always,
okay, that's what I'm disputing. I can find examples of this.
You can find me individual examples, but I'm talking about a cultural trend. And I'm saying,
Okay,
as
well, I can't
someone
speak to your
who-
specific grievances with the left online,
No, but
which I know
see
you have
what
a hate
see.
voter for.
I know you see what I see.
I
know-
don't see what you see, brother. I don't spend my time
When
scrubbing
Katie
Hassan VODs
Porter-
for clips of
when
like him
Katie-
abusing his dog or doing
True.
deep dives on majority report. I don't do that.
What does that have to do with anything?
True.
You just said you see what I'm seeing, and I'm saying no, Hutch. I don't see what you're seeing because your timeline I think looks a lot different than mine. Because what
You know what? At this point, I'm a Straighterade fan. Okay, I'm a Straighterade stan. Okay, all right. I'm a Straighterade fan. Okay, I'm a Straighterade. Okay, no.
No,
you
but we
choose
all
to focus
saw.
on is different than what I
Just
focus
kidding.
on.
We all saw, like when Bernie lost in 2016 and 2020, we all saw what was discussed in terms of like the progressive media pundits at the time. And
Just by the way, okay, I just want to point out real quick, okay, why the optics cucks keep losing, okay? Here. So Straighterade took a shot at Hutch, right? Straighterade took a shot at Hutch, but notice how Hutch is not reciprocating her energy. Notice how Hutch is not responding with another insult. So let's be very clear, okay? Straighterade made an ad hom attack, and Hutch did not reciprocate, which makes Hutch look weak. Understand now? Do you guys understand how you should do tit for tat? How you shouldn't be always amicable all the way? Who looks weaker in this conversation? Straighterade or Hutch? Straighterade throws an insult, Hutch tries to stay amicable. Where are we now? Now Hutch looks horrible. Boom! Bitch! Get out the way! Alright? Yes. Yes. He looks more horrible. Because he's unable to counter with blood sports, okay?
almost none of them were talking about the demographic shortcomings that he faced in both 2016 and 2020. When I did not see any kind of serious analysis, I still don't see a lot of serious analysis. I feel like every time I ask a progressive why they don't win more races, I always hear the same thing. I'm just telling you anecdotally, I've had dozens, hundreds of these conversations. And every time I ask the question, it's AIPAC donors establishment. Like
I would have told you anecdotally, I've had the
time.
exact opposite. What would you say to that?
You have people like diving into like granular data to talk
Yes.
about shortcomings.
Anecdotally, thousands
Sure.
of conversations like this, Hutch. What would you say?
Listen, if you're seeing that in your life, that's great. But I wish that was more reflected when it came to alternative media. Because in my mind, alternative media has become crucially important to political discussions. Like it is real life. People need to take it seriously. I think
It actually makes it look weak. Wrong. That's your bias coming in. That's your bias coming in. That's your pro-Hutch bias. Okay, that's your optics Andy bias kicking in. Okay. People like me, okay, and other people from the outside, okay, is gonna look at that and they're gonna be like, such a pushover, cringe pushover. Okay, nah, you are. Some people are born to be bullies, and some people are born to be bullying victims. This is a bullying victim. Boom. Okay, no.
2024 is the most extreme
biased.
example
No,
of this,
you.
and I think it's going to be even more influential in 2028. And the loudest voices that I hear in the progressive movement are really not discussing these kinds of shortcomings, and they're really quick to blame anything outside of their movement that they can. Like I just don't hear them having.
Welcome to Twitter
discussions.
discourse. That's why I said it's not specific.